Alright, what's going on YouTube? This is the drone guy, and I thought this was a really overdue video about the Mini 2 SE. This was the drone that really sparked starting this YouTube channel for me, so I thought it was worth sharing why I like the drone, why I chose to buy the drone, the pros, the cons, the details of the drone, so those who might be looking to purchase this drone for the holidays for somebody else, or just maybe asking for this drone for the holidays, looking for something to get into the drone world or start even a profession, this really is one of the best options out there. Now I'll tell you why. As you can see, it does have a pretty standard controller with the other higher end drones that we see. This is my Mavic 3 drone. I have another video that I just finished wrapping up talking about all three of my drones, but I thought I'd just kind of separate this one out. I did talk about my Phantom 4 over here as well, which was my original drone, the Big Daddy, and so, but quickly let's talk about the Mini 2 SE. So this is one of DJI's, let's turn her on quick. This is one of DJI's newest mini series drones. The original had a couple things different than this newest model, and I will talk about that a little bit. But as you can see, its gimbal is very similar to a lot of the designs of the previous drones. I would, however, say that if I've had any issues with the drone, it has been with the gimbal. One thing I think you should always make sure to do is keep it covered. Maybe buy one of those little compressed air cans so that you can make sure to clean it from dust or debris, and always be checking it for any sort of obstruction. It is very simple, so I would not suggest using any neutral density filters on this particular drone. Like I said, I think it does a good job of handling the actual camera itself, but in terms of any wind or any extra type of addition, I think it might just be a little bit too much for the simplistic design of the drone's gimbal. However, as you can see, it's one of the sub 0.55 pound drones, so that doesn't necessarily classify as an unmanned aircraft system. However, I would still consider getting this drone registered with the FAA, even if you're just a recreational flyer. It can't hurt. It does help to have your bases covered. If you do, by any chance, put anything else on this drone, it may even bring it above the threshold, so which would require you to have it registered. So keep that in mind. You have your standard charging ports here. You do have to charge this drone with the battery inside unless you have one of the Fly More combo battery packs. So keep that in mind as well. I didn't necessarily get the Fly More combo because, to be honest, I just knew I was going to use this drone more recreationally than professionally. But as you can see, it's a very small, simple drone. It's probably got just as much weight as the drone itself. Slide that back in there. I don't find it to be too inconvenient to have to charge it while the battery's inside. In fact, it kind of keeps me on top of it a little bit more than I would. And it's nice to have in my car. I just kind of throw it right on my USB charger and drive to the next location in some cases to get the next shot. So this is the little micro USB. Let's see if I can. Unfortunately, guys like me with big hands do not do well with this stuff, but as you can see, a little micro SD in there. It does not have any internal storage, so keep that in mind as well. You will need a micro SD card to use this drone. Other drones like the Mavic 3, the let's see, the Mavic 3 Sign, the Air 2S, and a couple others have built-in storage. I haven't looked at the specs of the Mini 3 or Mini 4, so if anyone does own those drones and you know if there's internal storage on it, please drop it in the comments for us to check out. Another thing too is you cannot use the the quick shots. There are no master shots. You cannot use the quick shots without the micro SD. It will not allow that maneuver to even start. At least so I've seen. I haven't actually tested that theory, but I've seen a lot of comments online about that. And I've seen a lot of people who've had issues with it where I've mentioned that and they've said, thanks, that's helpful, that worked. So keep that in mind as well. The two and only image sensors or obstacle avoidance sensors that this drone has are on the bottom. Those are primarily for takeoff and landing. Pretty essential for any drone, anything that's going to land safely, especially one that has an auto land feature. I do have a couple short YouTube shorts out on the different ways you can actually launch this drone, one being more automatic and one being more manual, if you're interested in taking a look at that. So I have had to replace the propellers once. I did clip a tree one time. It's the only little crash I've had with this drone, and it did just fine. So I did have to replace one of the back propellers, but this drone does come with some replacements, so not a problem at all. And I would suggest after a few months taking a look at the propellers for any wear and tear. They do have these like more rubbery ends to them now, so they're a little bit more suspect over time. However, this is a super quiet drone. I mean, the little motors on this thing are super powerful for the weight of this thing. So, you know, I did talk in the other video about, I guess, these two image sensors and, you know, the pros and cons of having just two. One thing I think I will say before anything is, with any drone, be careful flying over water, especially calm water, because, you know, reflecting off the sky, reflecting in any way, makes it hard for images, cameras, or any sort of imaging device to sense its distance. So be mindful over water, really have a good eyesight on the drone. Now, that's for low flying. If you're, you know, anywhere above 20 feet over water, you shouldn't have any problem with this drone just sinking into the water. That will not happen. Another reason I like this little mini series drone compared to some of the other non-DJI comparative drones is it's super stable. So this will sense an obstacle coming up from the bottom. So if you were to, you know, have this drone hovering here, I do have a few videos of this as well. You can raise your hand and it will basically move right on up and avoid that. However, if you do the exact opposite and try to push down on it, the drone will basically stabilize itself pretty much perfectly. Super, super impressive for a drone of this weight to have that stability. I do live on the seacoast, so having something that can handle 5, 10, 15 mile an hour winds is super helpful. I've got some great videos out too that show that this drone can actually handle even up to 25 mile an hour winds if needed and still take some really great image and video. I also have another video about, like I said, the quick shots, as well as kind of some of the other things that this drone can do in the features that it has. So things to keep in mind. I think my original thought too with this image sensor comment was when deciding, you know, between this drone, the Mini 3, the Mini 4, the biggest changes you'll see besides going from 2.7K and 12 megapixels here up to 4K and 20 megapixels and sometimes 40 megapixels with the Mini 3 and Mini 4 is the obstacle avoidance and the obstacle avoidance sensors. So although these are fake sensors on this drone, the other mini series drones will have real image sensors similar to the Mavic 3 over there. So if you look at the front of the Mavic the Mavic 3, you'll see those really clearly. And those smaller drones, the other Mini 3, Mini 4 series drones do have that, and that will allow those drones to have a few more features, including master shots, as well as active tracking, and a few other things as well. Now, like the original Phantom 4 over here, the controller is going to be really similar setup where you've got that return home feature here. This slides up to completely lock your phone in, which is super sleek. These actually screw off as well and get slotted right in here. I have a setup in my bag that allows it so that I don't have to do that. If you do keep this controller in a bag where these are going to be pressed on, I wouldn't suggest keeping them on. I would remove them because eventually you're going to get some sticking, and that's like the worst thing you can have when being precise and flying safely with the drone. So you do have your shutter over here, which means basically the button that allows you to take the photo. And then this is going to how you rotate the gimbal up and down. So all right, so I'm not going to give an example of the gimbal moving up and down, but it really, like I said, it has the features and the tech of like some of the OG and top drones in the market. You can upgrade to one of the higher end controllers with the Mini 3, Mini 4, but I believe this is the only controller you can have with the Mini 2 SE. If I'm wrong, please correct me, but I'm pretty sure I've checked the specs. a few times. I've actually looked into buying a few refurbished ones of these to see how they go. But, you know, as far as I know, that is the only controller you can get with the Mini 2. Going back to the comparisons with the image sensors and the ability to do the Omni obstacle avoidance and the active tracking and such with the other Mini series drones, the Mini 2, although it doesn't have that, there's something to be said about learning how to fly a drone, you know, without the reliability of those image sensors and the obstacle avoidance sensors. You know, the Phantom 4 that I learned how to fly on, it did have some obstacle avoidance, but it didn't have it in every area. So I think I naturally learned to understand the drone's attitude, I do every photo shoot I have with real estate, I do a walkthrough of the entire property to make sure I'm not missing power lines, to make sure I'm not missing tree limbs. So you're going to naturally get, and I think, a little bit of a safer mentality with a drone that forces you to be safe. And really, if you if you're not able to even enter the drone market at a $500 or $600 price tag, then you really aren't going to be losing out with the Mini 2 SE. I have numerous examples on this YouTube channel of how the image quality really can hold up. I've traveled to Italy, like I said, I've traveled to Montreal, I've traveled to Chicago, and I've taken this drone all over the place, and I have not felt like, oh man, I wish I had my Mavic, ever. I have not felt like that ever. Maybe once, but I still would have wanted my Mini 2 SE there in addition to my Mavic. So, I mean, I basically started this YouTube channel with this single drone. Like I said, I charge typically $100 to $200 an hour, depending on if I'm shooting just photos or photos and video. And that would cover the price tag of this drone. It's certainly something a realtor or someone looking to enter the real estate photography business could use to capture anything for a client. So I hope this, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. You know, let's quickly talk about the battery life. It probably does have one of the worst battery lives of the drones I've flown. But to be honest, usually 25 minutes is the average, and that's usually enough for me. Maybe it's because I'm a little bit more experienced, but you know, I just don't need as much battery life anymore to get the shots. I think I show up on site and I know what I'm doing. You know, maybe if there's an epic sunset, I will, you know, be happy I had the extra batteries. So my suggestion too is if you can't afford the Fly More combo, don't stress about it. Like I said, I just ended up buying the drone for, you know, I think at the time it was a little bit cheaper than the $339 price tag because of my points, but the extra batteries are only, I think, $50. So I grabbed a couple extras like a month or two later, you know, after making some more money, obviously, and I paid for a few of those. So I have 3 batteries total, and that's, if I have them charged, that's usually plenty. That keeps me flying for an hour or more. So if you guys have any questions about any of the mini series drones, any of the DJI drones, even ones I don't have, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear how you guys have been enjoying yours. I hope you've been enjoying this channel. Thanks again for all the followers as well and subscribers. I can't believe I've passed almost 3,500 in just since past April. So looking forward to doing more long narrated flights as well with the Mini 2 SE, the Mavic 3, and who knows, if you have any ideas for what I should use this old Phantom 4 for, let me know. I'd love to even make a video about that as well. So hope you guys had fun, and talk to you soon.